readers. So we have talked a lot this year about how much you as second graders have grown and changed as readers, as writers, as mathematicians, as people in general. And you might have noticed that it's not just you that grows and changes, but you might notice that some of the characters in your book also change and also grow as the story goes on. Have you noticed that at all? So what I want to teach you today is that as readers, it's really important to pay attention to how our characters change throughout the story and to think about what made them change and what did they maybe learn over the course of the book. So as we're reading, there are some questions that we should be thinking about when we notice how our character changes. Now I know this looks backwards to you on the video, technical difficulty that I'm trying to figure out, so please be patient with me, but I am going to put a picture of it on the Google slide so you can look at it after you watch this video and read it. But as we're reading and we're thinking about how our character changes, there are some questions that we can ask ourselves as readers. What was the problem or trouble the character faced? How did the character solve the problem? Did the character learn something? How did the character get into the problem or trouble in the first place? What could the character have done differently? What would you have done differently if you were the character? So I want us to do some of this thinking together with Lulu. We haven't finished this book. And when I think about Lulu as a character, in some ways she really hasn't changed because she's still pretty bossy. She can still be pretty mean. She still cares a lot about herself. But there was one big moment that we've read about where she did change. And my thought is that when she hired Fleischman as her assistant, I was like, whoa, where'd that come from, right? She totally changed her mind. At first, she didn't want anything to do with Fleischman. She didn't want his help at all. And then all of a sudden, she's hiring him as her assistant and paying him for it. So let's think about Lulu a little bit with these questions. What was the problem or trouble the character faced? Well, I guess the problem that Lulu had was that she needed to walk these dogs for money, but they wouldn't listen to her, and she couldn't do it by herself. How did the character solve the problem? Well, she solved it by hiring Fleischman, by asking him to work with her and to help her. Did the character learn something? I think that maybe Lulu learned at least a little bit that she can't do everything on her own and that sometimes it's okay to get help from people when you need it. Now, I don't think she totally learned that lesson because we also read later on when Fleischman didn't show up and she thought, oh, I don't need him, I can do it myself. But I think in the moment where she hired Fleischman as her assistant, I think she realized that okay, I can't do everything by myself. Sometimes I do need some help. How did the character get into the problem or trouble in the first place? Well, she wanted to walk dogs because she really needs money, but she got into the trouble because she's not very good at it and none of the dogs listened to her or really did what she said. So I guess that's how she got in trouble. What could the character have done differently? Well, maybe Lulu could have been nice to Fleischman at the beginning. They could have worked together from the start, and then she wouldn't have gotten in all of the trouble that she did. She wouldn't have had that problem. So maybe that's something she could have done differently. And what would you have done differently? If I was Lulu, I don't know. I probably would have tried it on my own first, but when it didn't go so well, I think I would have asked Fleischman for his help, and I think I would have been nicer to him so that he wanted to help me, because Lulu's still pretty mean to him and still pretty bossy. So in thinking about Lulu, we know that she's not totally changed, and oftentimes our characters won't totally change. They'll still be similar to how they were in the beginning of the story, but there's usually at least something about the character that changes them, that they learn, a lesson that they learn. So what I noticed from what we've read in Lulu Walks the Dogs, when she changed her mind and hired Fleischman as her assistant, I think she learned that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to not do everything by yourself. So as you're reading your own book today, I want you to be thinking about these questions, and I'll post them on the Google slide so you can read them. Has your character changed? What made them change? Did they have a problem they needed to change themselves or what they were doing in order to solve the problem? And I'm going to have you do a quick reader's response. I'll put an assignment on Google Classroom to show me that you're thinking about, as you're reading the character in your book, how are they changing? Why are they changing? What do you notice? What makes them change? All right? So go ahead and get your book and be thinking about that, keeping that in mind as you're doing your reading today.